We're back from our holiday hiatus, looking forward to a great year. Let's get a quick take on the loss felt across Colorado this week with the passing of renowned news columnist Penny Parker. Patty Calhoun from Westward, you are a longtime friend of Penny's. When the announcement came out the weekend, it was really an explosion on social media. People all throughout the community all have some sort of connection to Penny. What's been some of the thoughts you've heard so far?
Well, it was a sad start to the new year, for sure, when the news came out on Sunday night. One of the interesting things about Penny is she was a really old school journalist. When she first moved here 20 years ago, there was no one more competitive. In fact, Lynn Bartles has a great story about how the Rocky Mountain News would always talk about, they called her Penny, as first seen in the Denver Post, Parker, because she was always beating the news on the beat she covered. Then when she became a citywide columnist, she really kind of debuted social media. She really used social media in a way many people hadn't used it before. And now we're seeing it come back, because even though the Post laid her off years ago, the amount of comment and people who care about her and want to follow her is incredible. So some of her friends are planning to have a public memorial where we'll read parts of her columns, both that skewered and loved people. John Elway sent out a tweet about Penny Parker. She made a great impact on this community, so we'll be posting it on her memorial page when that is, probably later in the month.
Well, I know people will be looking very forward to seeing that. Mike Krause, the Independence Institute, thank you for joining us. You know, beyond just my personal feelings of really enjoying Penny Parker and what she wrote, it reminded me kind of, I guess, our good old days of you know, a two-newspaper town and what that meant to have this kind of personality involved. What do you think? Absolutely.
Well, first, you know, as I've been experiencing, the older and older I become, the younger and younger 62 sounds. So it really seems a shame to have lost Penny at that young age, when she should still have had a lot of time to continue writing and doing whatever she would be doing post journalism. But yes, it's also part of there's an ongoing loss in Denver of institutional knowledge of back in the day when we were a two-newspaper town. So you've seen a lot of people from the Rocky, and then as the Post has shed employees, a lot of longtime voices who have moved on to other things or left the state or are no longer active in the industry. So you're really seeing kind of there's an era diminishing, that there's less and less knowledge of the fact that we used to be this two-paper town, and that it was more of a cow town, certainly, and so things change, but it's also a shame to lose that institutional kind of memory and knowledge.
Absolutely. Eric Sonneman, political analyst. You know, with your background, including a variety of media and public relations consulting, you could really appreciate the kind of impact somebody like Penny Parker had in Denver.
Absolutely. Very sad. The phrase that comes to my mind is simply self-made. She made herself. She took a beat, which is an interesting beat, but she made it a sensation. I can't tell you the number of lunches or coffees or beers I've had around over the years where someone would stop. Fortunately, it wasn't me, but when someone would stop mid-conversation because I have to text Penny of something they just heard, of something they just witnessed. But let me just go bigger real quickly than Penny. Very sad to lose her. But at the start of this year, we lost a number of other prominent personalities around this town and this state as well. I'm thinking of Bill Costa, who for a generation, probably the generation ahead of mine, defined what public relations was in Denver. Emma Salazar, mother of that whole clan, including Ken Salazar and John Salazar, and going way, way back, Vern Rapp. It's a name some people might not recognize, but he was a longtime manager of the Denver Bears that preceded the Rockies. So it's been a rough week for some Denver and Colorado institutions.
Absolutely. Rounding out the panel, Natasha Gardner, senior editor of 5280 magazine. 5280 is another one that's a magazine that's really become a bastion of everything Colorado, but especially looking at kind of the social scene. So seeing some of the work that Penny did, you could certainly appreciate what has made the scene here in Denver be like.
Absolutely, and I think that's an important connection to make, and what certainly for me, when I moved to Colorado, Penny was immediately a must-read column for many reasons, just, you know, places, people, things that were happening, but how they were connected. She was not only creating an encyclopedia of the city, but really defining how some of that came together, and that mark isn't going to disappear with her passing. And fortunately, it was something I was able to experience firsthand, but she is part of a legacy of journalism in this city that certainly has set the bar, and it's something that I aspire to. I hope other journalists in the city look at and see this is something that we have to continue no matter what that looks like.